The hearing chamber buzzed like a hive before the storm, packed with reporters, aides, and members of Congress. The energy was different today, palpable, electric, because Donald Trump was in the room. He sat at the witness table, flanked by advisors, projecting his trademark confidence, chin slightly lifted as if he owned the building. Across the aisle, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett adjusted her papers without looking up. Her calm presence was in stark contrast to the cameras flashing around Trump. She knew this wasn't just another policy debate, this was a stage, and Trump was here to perform. When the chair recognized Crockett, Trump leaned into the microphone before she could speak. "You know," he said, voice dripping with theatrical disdain, "I've met a lot of people in politics. Some are good, some not so good. But you're an angel-faced devil. Pretty smile, dangerous ideas." The words hung in the air like smoke. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the chamber. Reporters scribbled furiously. Trump leaned back, a faint smirk tugging at his lips, clearly pleased with his opening shot. Crockett slowly raised her head. Their eyes locked. She didn't flinch, didn't frown, didn't rush to respond. Instead, she smiled, soft at first, then wider, a measured expression that spoke louder than any retort. The smirk on Trump's face faltered for just a moment. Cameras caught it. The audience caught it. In that silent beat, Crockett had already taken the first round without a word. Somewhere in the back of the chamber, a reporter whispered to his colleague, "That smile's going viral before lunch." The silence after Crockett's smile was short-lived. Trump shifted in his seat, leaning forward again, as if proximity could restore the power he'd just lost. "You think that's cute?" he said, his voice a notch louder now. "That little smile might work on your fans, but it doesn't change the fact that your policies would be a disaster for this country." Crockett folded her hands, still composed. "Mr. Trump," she began, her tone even but edged with precision, "I've always believed actions speak louder than insults. So perhaps you can explain, specifically, how the policies you're advocating would address the root causes of the issues we're discussing today." Trump waved a hand dismissively. "We've already fixed these problems before, we can do it again. Strong borders, strong economy, law and order, simple." Her smile deepened, this time tinged with something sharper. "And yet," she said, "those solutions left us with record deficits, a fractured international reputation, and policies struck down in court. So maybe simple isn't the same thing as effective." A murmur swept the chamber again. Trump opened his mouth to reply, but Crockett had already turned slightly toward the committee chair, signaling she was ready to move on. The control of the room was hers now, and Trump knew it. On social media, clips of the exchange were already circulating. The freeze frame of her smile juxtaposed with his momentary pause was racking up shares. The hashtags #AngelFaceDevil and #CrockettSmile started trending, two narratives fighting for dominance, but one clearly pulling ahead. Trump's jaw tightened, the telltale sign that his patience was thinning. "You know what your problem is, Congresswoman," he said, leaning in, voice laced with a mix of sarcasm and frustration. "You hide behind that smile like it's some kind of shield, but underneath, nothing but bad ideas and soft policies." Crockett didn't flinch. Instead, she tilted her head slightly, almost as if she were studying him. "A shield," she echoed, her voice calm but deliberate. "No, Mr. Trump. It's a reminder, to myself and to everyone here, that insults aren't solutions. Leadership isn't about who can shout the loudest or throw the sharpest jab. It's about who can deliver results without tearing the country apart." The room fell into a tense stillness, the kind that happens when everyone knows something just shifted. Trump tapped his fingers on the table, a faint rhythmic impatience. "We delivered results," he shot back. "The best economy, the strongest borders, everybody knows it." Crockett's smile sharpened. "And yet," she said, "those results didn't survive your presidency. If they were so strong, they wouldn't have vanished the moment you left office." A ripple of oohs came from the audience. Trump straightened his posture, visibly irritated, his tone rising. "That's because the people who came after destroyed it all. Crockett leaned forward slightly. Or maybe, she replied softly, they just showed how fragile it all really was. The exchange hit social media like a spark to dry grass. Clips flooded TikTok and X, with captions like, "She just dismantled him with a smile," and "Angel-faced devil strikes again." The more Trump pushed, the more Crockett's calm landed as the stronger weapon. Trump's voice rose a full octave, his composure cracking. "You've never built anything. You've never created jobs, never signed a deal, never stood in front of the world as its leader. You just sit there in Congress, smiling, and pretending you understand what it takes." Crockett leaned back, letting the moment breathe. She didn't rush to answer, she let the silence hang, knowing it would make him fill it with more bluster. When she finally spoke, her tone was measured, her words deliberate. "Mr. Trump, leadership isn't about the size of your buildings, the number of contracts you've signed, or how many cameras you can draw to a room. It's about trust. And the truth is, you've burned through that trust faster than anyone in modern history." Trump's cheeks flushed, his fingers gripping the edge of the table. "That's fake news," he snapped. "The people love me. More than ever." Crockett's eyes glinted, her smile returning with surgical precision. "Then I guess we'll see," she said quietly, "how much love is left when the facts come out." Gasps cut through the chamber, followed by a few stifled laughs. Trump's mouth opened, then closed again, as if he couldn't decide whether to double down or pivot. Online, the moment was clipped and replayed endlessly. The hashtag smiling assassin began trending alongside hashtag angel-faced devil. Commentators noted that Crockett's restraint made her look stronger, while Trump's escalating volume painted him as desperate. The room's dynamic had shifted completely. Crockett wasn't just holding her ground, she was controlling the narrative. Trump's frustration was now fully visible, shoulders tense, jaw locked, eyes narrowed in on Crockett like she was the only person in the room. "You smile because you know you can't win against me," he spat. "You've got no record worth mentioning, no vision, no chance. All you've got is that fake smile." Crockett didn't blink. She let his words settle, waited for the murmurs in the chamber to die down, and then leaned forward with the faintest hint of amusement. Her voice dropped just enough that people leaned in to hear. "If my smile is fake, Mr. Trump," she said, "then why does it keep showing the truth you can't hide from?" A wave of gasps and laughter rolled through the chamber. Trump's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, searching for a comeback that didn't come. The cameras zoomed in, capturing the exact moment his confidence wavered. In the press gallery, reporters were already sending out push notifications. Crockett delivers single-line knockout to Trump. On Twitter and TikTok, clips with captions like, "This is where she ended him," and "Angel-faced devil strikes back," exploded within minutes. Trump tried to regain control, but the damage was done. Every second he hesitated became part of the story. Crockett had just turned his own insult into a viral blowback, and she had done it without raising her voice. Trump straightened in his chair, drawing a deep breath like a boxer regrouping between rounds. "You think you're clever," he said, forcing a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "But the American people can see through your act. They know who's fighting for them, and it's not you." Crockett simply tapped her pen against her notes, not looking up. The absence of reaction was almost theatrical. "If the American people see through anything, Mr. Trump," she replied, finally meeting his gaze, "it's empty promises wrapped in loud speeches." That line landed like a thunderclap. Gasps, murmurs, and scattered applause broke out before the chair's gavel restored order. Trump leaned toward the mic again, but every word now felt defensive, every sentence shadowed by the moment he'd lost control. Outside the chamber, news outlets were already cutting highlight reels. CNN ran the headline, "Crockett flips Trump's attack into viral moment." Fox aired the clip with the cheerin' "angel-faced devil" or "political assassin." On TikTok, the snippet of her smiling after delivering the "empty promises" line racked up millions of views in hours. In the control room for the network feed, a producer muttered, we've got our lead story for the night. It wasn't Trump's talking points. It wasn't the policy debate. It was the moment Crockett turned an insult into a symbol of poise under fire. For the first time that day, Trump looked like a man realizing the story wasn't going to be his to tell. Trump sat back in his chair, plastering on a grin that looked more like a grimace. He adjusted his tie, nodded as if unbothered, but the telltale drumming of his fingers on the table betrayed him. Crockett, meanwhile, was motionless, her posture relaxed, her expression the same calm, knowing smile that had already become the day's headline. "Let's be clear," Trump said, turning toward the cameras. "I'm not here to play games. I'm here to speak for the American people who are tired of weak leadership." Crockett didn't interrupt. She let him speak, let him fill the air with words that now seemed to bounce off the armor of her silence. When he finally paused, she leaned forward slightly and asked, "And which part of leadership, exactly, requires attacking someone's face instead of their facts?" The chamber stirred. Even members who had been silent all session shifted in their seats, some suppressing smiles. The chair's gavel tapped once, but the moment had already landed. Outside the chamber, the media machine was in full swing. Cable news anchors replayed the "face versus facts" line on loop. Meme pages flooded Instagram with side-by-side shots, Trump mid-sentence, eyes narrowed, and Crockett's composed smile, captioned, "This is the look of control." Hashtags like #FactsOverFace and #SmileWins joined the trending list. Crockett's team didn't need to say a word, the internet had already turned the narrative in her favor. Every clip, every headline, every meme reinforced the same image: Trump had been baited into a losing fight, and Crockett had walked away with the upper hand, without ever losing her smile. Trump's patience finally shattered. His words grew sharper, faster, each one aimed like a dart meant to draw blood. "You've been in Congress for 5 minutes, Crockett, and you think you can lecture me on leadership? I've dealt with world leaders, I've sat in the Oval Office, I've run billion-dollar companies. You're just a political rookie with a nice smile and nothing else." The room tensed. Some supporters in the back row clapped, but it was scattered, hesitant. Crockett took a slow sip of water before responding, never breaking eye contact. When she set the glass down, her voice was calm, almost gentle. "Mr. Trump, experience doesn't mean much if all it teaches you is how to divide people. And for the record, a smile can win more battles than bluster ever will." The statement hit like a bell toll. A few audible "mmms" echoed from the gallery. Trump tried to jump in, but the chair motioned for Crockett to finish. "And here's the difference," she continued, leaning forward just enough to claim the space between them. "You see leadership as a stage. I see it as a responsibility. You want the spotlight. I want the results." The chamber erupted, some in applause, others in protest, but every phone in the room was already up, recording. On social media, the clip spread with captions like, "She ended him with responsibility over spotlight," and "Bluster versus results, guess who won?" News networks replayed it on loop, analysts calling it the moment Trump's attacks boomeranged back at him. By the time the hearing moved on, the narrative was sealed. Crockett had taken Trump's most personal shots and turned them into a defining victory, smiling all the way. Trump leaned in for one last swing, his voice dripping with condescension. "You've got a lot to say for someone who's never had to make the big calls. You've never had the weight of the free world on your shoulders, Jasmine. You wouldn't last a week in my shoes." Crockett's smile didn't fade, it widened. She took a breath, then delivered her line like she'd been waiting for this exact opening all afternoon. "Mr. Trump, if your shoes are so heavy, maybe that's why you've been sinking for so long." The chamber erupted. Gasps, laughter, and a few scattered claps broke through the gavel's desperate pounding. Trump's head jerked back as if the words had physically landed. His mouth opened, but nothing came out, just a tight, silent glare in her direction. Cable news producers were already cutting the clip. Within minutes, TikTok had the moment set to dramatic music, and Twitter was flooded with posts tagged #SinkingShoes and #AngelFaceDevil. Commentators noted how quickly she turned his experience boast into a symbol of decline. Even his allies in the chamber shifted uncomfortably, sensing that this was the image people would remember, not his speeches, not his boasts, but the moment Jasmine Crockett turned his final jab into the final blow. Trump looked down at his notes, but Crockett had already turned to the chair, her body language saying it all, "We're done here." The chamber was still buzzing from Crockett's last line, but she didn't ride the wave of applause. She waited for the room to settle, then rose slowly, gathering her notes. When she finally spoke, her voice carried the calm weight of someone who knew they had already won. "Mr. Trump," she began, "politics isn't a performance. It's a responsibility to every single person who put their trust in you. The job isn't to divide, to insult, or to turn every disagreement into a spectacle. It's to solve problems, even when the cameras are off." She glanced briefly at him, then out toward the chamber. "The American people don't need another show. They need leadership that works quietly, effectively, and with integrity. That's not about smiling or shouting, it's about delivering. And I will never apologize for choosing results over drama." A final ripple of applause rose from one side of the room, enough to drown out the quiet rustle of Trump flipping through his untouched notes. She gave a small nod to the chair, then walked out, her smile intact. By the time she reached the hallway, the clip was already viral. Headlines read, "Crockett walks out on top, Angel-Faced Devil delivers the last word," and "Smile outshines the spotlight." Trump remained inside, still talking to cameras that no longer held the same energy. Outside, Crockett spoke briefly to reporters, repeating a single line that would become the soundbite of the day. "We don't have time for political theater. We have a country to run." It wasn't just the end of the hearing, it was the moment that defined it. Ladies and gentlemen, today wasn't about trading insults, it was about drawing a clear line between spectacle and service. The American people deserve leadership that doesn't crumble under questions, that doesn't hide behind loud words, and that certainly doesn't confuse personal attacks with policy. Mr. Trump came here to put on a show. I came here to get work done. And while the cameras may love the drama, history remembers results. So let me be clear, this is not about who can shout the loudest, or who can land the sharpest insult. It's about who can deliver for the people who put their trust in us. And I will always choose solutions over spotlights. Because when the cameras turn off and the stage lights fade, what matters is not the performance, it's the progress we've made. And that's exactly what I'm here to do.